Okay, so the College Board review video was a lot of information very quickly. I think that putting some of this stuff into application by doing this practice question will help clarify a lot of the most important things that you should take away from the video, and obviously most importantly how to actually apply that to your own thinking to answer a question. So we're going to go through, do this CFU, and then you're going to, at the end of the lesson, answer a more formal AP timed question, but that question will actually be really similar to this. So let's spend some time with this question. So this says, researchers conducted a study in which 10 participants went to a lab around dinner time. The researcher assigned students to one of two groups by flipping a coin. Random assignment. Half of the participants were assigned to a large bowl group, and half were assigned to a small bowl group. By luck of the draw, 4 men and 1 woman were in the large bowl group, and 4 women and 1 man were in the small bowl group. So 5 participants are getting a large bowl to eat from, and 5 participants are getting a small bowl to eat from. Participants were told they could take as much pasta as they wanted from a serving bowl in the middle of the table, which was kept at a nearly full level. Participants were encouraged to go back for as many helpings of pasta as they wanted. In order to determine how much food each participant actually ate, the researcher measured the weight of the food that each participant took, as well as the amount that the participants left in their bowls. Okay, so they don't really clarify, but it seems like the research question is, if you're eating food from a large bowl, are you going to eat more food than if you eat from a small bowl? That would be my hypothesis. So the key to this question is going to be interpreting the data over here. And it says, this represents the amount of pasta in grams that each participant ate. So we have a list here of the weight, I assume in grams, of pasta that each participant ate who is in the large bowl group, and then the amount that each participant ate in the small bowl group. So just to give you a quick interpretation, remember how there are 10 participants in total. Each one of these numbers represents the weight of food that one of the participants ate. So for example, one of the participants in the large bowl group ate 424 grams of pasta. This participant over here only ate 148 grams of pasta. So this was the minimum amount of pasta that someone ate. So each number is representing like one person or one participant in the study. Okay, so just a quick interpretation of the data. My question for you would be, in general, did people who ate pasta from a large bowl tend to eat more than people that ate pasta from a small bowl? So just think about that for a few seconds. Looking at the data, does it look like in general the participants who ate from a large bowl ate more than the small bowl? And just from a quick glance at the numbers, it does seem in general that people ate more when they were eating from a large bowl. So my hypothesis might be true. Okay, so now we're going to do some statistics. This says, determine the median of the large bowl group. Okay, so in my response, I'm going to determine okay, and this is where you'll want to remember, what is the median? The median is when you're going to list the numbers from smallest to largest. It's going to be the middle number in the list from smallest to largest. So I'm just going to type this out. So the smallest, also a little bit, I don't think this is presented in the best way because the last 2 rows of the data are not participants. The last 2 are the mean and then the standard deviation. So I'm just kind of like visually, I'm just ignoring the last 2 rows and looking at just this table here. Okay, so the smallest number I see is 258. So I'm just listing this in order from smallest number to largest number to find the median. To find the mean, I would add up all of the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers. So I would add 424 plus 258 plus 376 plus 387 plus 445, and then I would divide by 5 because there are 5 numbers in total. For the median, I'm going to list from smallest to largest. 258. Or 24 and 445. Okay. So the median is going to be the middle number in this list. So I can visually imagine if I were to cross off from both sides, I were to cross off the smallest, cross off the largest, cross off the next, cross off the next. The middle number in the list, the number that falls halfway between the minimum and the maximum in the middle of the list, is going to be 387. Okay, so to find the median, we list from smallest to largest, and then you find the middle number. Make sure you include the unit. 37 grams of pasta. Okay. Which group has a smaller range? Explain how the smaller range relates to standard deviation. Okay, so the range is the difference between the maximum and the minimum. So it's going to be the maximum minus the minimum. So I'm looking at which group has a smaller range. So I'm going to calculate the range of both groups and then compare them. So let's see the range of the large bowl. The maximum number is, the most that someone ate was 445. And then the minimum that someone ate was 258. And then the range of the small bowl will be the minimum, again, the minimum to the maximum. So it will be the largest number, 274, minus the smallest number, 196. Okay. So the range here is 187, and then the range here is okay. So the range of the large bowl group is 187, whereas the range of the small bowl group is 78. The large bowl group, or it's asking which has the smaller range. So the small bowl group has the smaller range, which kind of makes sense, right? If you have a bigger bowl to eat from, there's more variation in the amount of pasta you can eat. So the difference between the minimum and the maximum, or how like spread out the people were and how much they ate, is going to be greater because there's more room for variation in the amount of pasta that you're taking in your bowl. Okay. So how does this relate to standard deviation? So in the video, he was talking about how standard deviation is a measurement of variability. just like range is a measurement of variability. So let's put some of the words. So the group with the smaller range will also have the smaller standard deviation. Both of these are measures of variation, and variation is how spread out the data is. So how much variation is there? How much difference is there between the person who ate the least and the person who ate the most? Or is it kind of like everyone ate around the same amount? So variation, how spread out the data is. Okay, so for this last one, I'm actually going to change the question a little bit. On the AP, you're not going to be creating a histogram. What you will be doing is interpreting a histogram. So let's pull up this data. I have here the large bowl data and the small bowl data, and I'm going to create a quick histogram. And then we can practice kind of interpreting visually the histogram. Okay, so now we can compare side by side what the distributions look like for the two groups. A few things about histograms, because it's definitely possible that you'll see one of these and have to interpret them in a free response question. As he was mentioning in the video, the horizontal axis represents the, in this case, the amount of pasta that was eaten. And then the vertical axis represents the frequency of that occurrence. So for example, how I would interpret this is one person, it doesn't really make sense to have decimals here, one person ate between 140 and 180 grams of pasta. So the most frequent response, so 2 people is the most frequent, and 2 people ate between 180 and 220 grams of pasta. And this is for the small bowl group. Over here for the large bowl, you can see 2 people ate between 370 and 410 grams, and then 2 people ate between 410 and 450. So you can basically always think of the vertical axis. For psychology research, it's always going to be the number of participants or the number of people. So it's always like one person exhibited this response or 2 people exhibited this response. Okay, so we can see that the distributions are very different for the small bowl and the large bowl. We can see that the range or the variation in the large bowl is greater, and then the small bowl, the data tends to be like closer together. It's less variable. So I'm actually going to edit this last question, because instead of creating the distribution table into a chart, what I want you to